Maybe they also like to cook. Maybe they like to play music. Who knows what that also is about? So how do you differentiate? Ideas? Come on, blurt. You can do it. Help me out, Carla. Why is it important to differentiate? Absolutely. So Carla was at the top of her game in a totally different industry. She moved to Austin and she started a financial planning journey. And she's now one of the top dogs at New York Life. So much so that they're moving her to another city to start a whole nother audience. And so personal branding to her is no kidding. It's how she earns her money. And so I appreciate her coming to this talk today because that tells me that it's important for her. Okay, so me in college, are you ready for my summer job in college? Right here. I ran a jackhammer on a bridge project outside of Syracuse University where I went to school. And when you look at a construction worker, you're driving by, you see a construction worker, and you think about branding elements. You think about different things about construction workers. So what's the first thing that you think of with a construction worker? They like to build things? Yeah. What else? Do you think they're hard workers? Yeah. Do you think they have a college degree? That's a trick question because guess what? During COVID, there are a whole lot of people who went to school that lost their jobs or quit their jobs, right? The great resignation because I'm no longer working, doing something I hate to do. And so there are quite a few folks who are in construction making, and guess what? Do you think they make a lot of money? So in the 80s, I'm an 80s girl, right? Pat Benatar, rock and roll, that was me. In the 80s, I made $13 an hour regular time and a half. That means 13 plus 7-ish. So like $20 an hour for time and a half over 40 and double time on Sundays, 26 an hour. Even today, that doesn't stink. That's a pretty good income. So the branding attributes for different industries are something to think about. Okay, how about engineering? So Kristen gave it away. I went to school for biomedical engineering and have a degree. I went into an engineering organization and was able to translate what the engineers were doing for the marketing people to be able to create their sales material and their online material. And I went, you know what? It's a lot more fun hanging out with the marketing people than it is hanging out with the engineers, I just have to say. And so I made a pivot, even all the way back just out of college. I made a pivot because of how I was connected to those people. So engineers, are most of them college grads? I've got yeses and nos. That's perfect. Because guess what? Especially now, if you're coding and you're learning things online, you can launch a new business. You don't need to have a college degree. And college is such a thrilling experience. I meet the guy who runs the engineering organization, and he invites me in to talk about what it's like, A, to be a woman engineer, which there still aren't a whole lot of them, but there's more and more all the time. And B, guess what? I'm in the startup world. I start new companies. I do new things. It's part of my DNA. And so he loves to have me in the room with the regular engineers to talk about launching new products with the engineering students. Is there engineering curriculum here at Concordia? No? So if you have any interest in that, you definitely let me know. Okay, one more. So everybody, when I went to college, we had to take extracurricular stuff. I played rugby. You might ask why. Why did I play rugby? Because the soccer team all wore pink ribbons. And I don't know if you could tell, but I'm not a pink ribbon kind of girl. So I learned a new sport called rugby. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness I didn't do it for very long because I probably would be up here in a wheelchair. But if you're in the sports industry, you have a different brand. So do sports people, do they work hard? Yeah, they work their tails off, right? Olympiads, right? Skaters, they're skating 20 hours a day sometimes. And their dream is to go to the Olympics a lot of times. Okay, what about college? Are there a lot of people that go to college and then get into NFL sports? Yeah, a lot. A lot. And do they make money? Yeah, a lot of them make a lot of money, or a few of them make a lot of money, kind of like musicians. Not everybody makes a lot of money in the music industry, but a whole lot of people do. And more women all the time. So I share that because I'm a musician. And in college, I played 5 nights a week in a band. No kidding, Sonny Farrar and the Late Show. I was the singer. He was the Mario Lanza guy at the table with, Italian fare, little continuation of the brand. I made $500 cash a week in college. Wouldn't you like that? $2,000 a month? I wish I knew Carla then. I wish I had put my money in something differently. But being the front man or the front person of a band is kind of like being a CEO. You're the CEO of a business, and you have to learn how to brand that business. But you know what? Every person on stage, your drummer, your singer, your guitar player, your bass player, everybody on stage, they all have their own brands. And so understanding the individual brands and how they come together to make that company brand or that actual music brand is an exciting thing. So, questions? Yes, I play keyboards and sing right there. That's me. Wow, that's not me. That's a gal that's here in Austin, but kind of the same thing in college a few years ago. Okay, great question. So there's a vineyard in Florence, Texas, kind of north of Round Rock and Georgetown, Florence, Texas. My husband and I play music there. I always like to take a minute and ask the question, what is a brand? So we've talked a little bit about it, but in one line, what do you think a brand is? And the people that know me are not allowed to respond. Okay. A brand is a person's gut feeling about a product or a service. A personal brand is that gut feeling about that person. It's what they say about you when you leave the room. That's your brand. Questions? Does that land? Does that sound like, oh, I get that? Yeah, when somebody leaves the lunch table and we have a little something to say about whatever just went down, that's brand. Okay, so what you're looking at here is part of the postcard. Did everybody get a postcard when they checked in today? If you didn't, just raise your hand and Shannon will wander around. So there's 2 parts of this postcard. This one talks about a company that I've been working with since 2016. In fact, I launched it. It's called All About That Brand. We help leaders tell their story so their perfect client wants to do business with them. And so I help them define their brand. And so this postcard is designed to tell you how to engage with me. There are colors, there's a picture, right? There's all these action items that give you an opportunity to just connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. If you and I haven't connected on LinkedIn and you want to learn more about me, just go to LinkedIn and connect with me. If you want to take one of my courses, I'm giving you a freebie a little bit later. You're going to get a free coupon to be able to take one of my courses. Or if you think you want to work with me, there's also a way to schedule a call, all on one side of a card. So that's a branded event. So let's talk about television. LinkedIn has, I Googled before today, 740 million users. And it launched in 2002. I joined in 2006. I was user number 3,000 something, right? It's pretty early. And when LinkedIn first came out, do you know what it was? It was the first online resume. So instead of having a resume on a piece of paper that you handed out, I know you guys probably think this is ridiculous, but it was a big deal at the time. You could put it on LinkedIn and share it with other people so they knew what it was that you did well and whether or not you wanted to engage. Now it's completely shifted. Now it's a place where you declare your business personal brand, what you want the people in business to see you as. So if you want to go get a job, you want to appear brilliantly to them, like the thing that they're really looking for. On February 24th, 2020, I just finished packing. I was going to get on a plane the next morning and go to Los Angeles to a platinum business event, Swank Fashion Island in LA, right? And so I went on LinkedIn that night and I'm looking through it to make sure I didn't miss anything. And all of a sudden I get this message from this woman. Her name is Sarah. And she says, we're doing a TV show. I like what you and your daughter are doing online. We would like you to come and be part of 4 Days to End Cyberbullying. So what do you think my first response to that was? Do you think I thought it was real? Not in a million years. I never thought that I would be a person that any was interested for television. Why do I want to be on television? This doesn't make any sense to me. So I got this note. You can't read it very well from here. I imagine that Kristen will help you get access to it later. But basically, her name is Sarah. I got this and I said, well, let's have a talk. So she scheduled with me for the next day. I went to the event. I'm in the lobby. I get on the phone with Sarah, and she's a Shark Tank winner. So she's someone who launched a business and then stepped into the world of television, and she was now a producer. And she was interested in getting me on a television show. I'm like, okay, tell me more. And so the next step, she put me on the phone with the guy who's the creator of the show, who owns the studio. And 20 minutes later, I was really tripping over myself to invest in being on this show. So they had like a little marketing program that went with being on television, right? You get to go to this beautiful event, you get all these videos, yada, yada, yada. And so I decided I was going to do it. And I never thought I would be in television ever. And so that was early in March of 2020. What happened at the end of 2020? I'm not even going to say the word out loud, but that's it, right? That's what happened. And so it's interesting to look back on it and preparing for this presentation. You know, Kristen and I worked on this initially, and I thought, okay, I made up a title and I made up a description. And I said, okay, what do you think they want to hear about? Well, they want to hear about television. They wanted to hear about branding. They want to hear about pivoting, making a shift. Oh my goodness. And so April 1 came around and my phone started ringing. My clients were all calling me saying, guess what? This COVID thing, we're not sure we can keep paying you. We're not sure what we're supposed to be saying online. We're not sure. We're not sure. We're not sure. And by April 15th, my entire client base went on pause. It wasn't that they wouldn't pick up my phone. They always talked to me. In fact, they were calling me so much and asking me what to do, but they were afraid to spend money. They were afraid. And so I called the show and I started calling the people that I owed money to. And I said, you know what, this COVID thing, my clients aren't paying me. So guess what? We're going to have to pause. Just put me in season 3. We'll figure out what's next. Keep the money I put in so far. We'll talk some more. And he said, whoa, wait a minute. We need help connecting with entrepreneurs to get them to invest in the show. And we think you're the perfect person to do that. I'm okay, what's that mean? Well, we're going to bring you on as an associate producer. And I kid you not, I was typing the words associate producer into Google as fast as I could. I had no idea what that meant. And of course, it meant multiple things to multiple people. And for this show, what that meant was I had to understand sales and marketing for this show. May 1, associate producer. July 1, they promoted me to a producer and gave me a team. September 1, they promoted me to executive producer, and I was running everything associated not only with the sales side of the house, but also doing other things, which is kind of interesting. So what did I do for the show? Right? What did I do for the show? From May 20 to June 21, I was running at startup speed. Do people know what startup speed is? Yes, no? Raise your hand. Yes or no? Yes? No? Okay, raise your hand if you don't know what startup speed is. Okay, that means you're going 20 hours a day sometimes. You're running so fast to launch a new business, to launch a new thing, and you're so passionate about it, you forget to eat, you forget to sleep, you forget to get up and go to the restroom. Like, that's how passionate you are about starting up this new thing. And I was running at it. I was learning a new business. I was learning a new industry. I was learning the impact internet television is going to have on our future, OTT. Does anyone here know what OTT means? Over the top television. So the first platform really for OTT was Netflix. Now it's the old one, right? You know, we've got Amazon and we've got Apple. Google has their new Chromecast, right? So coming out on those internet TV channels matters. And it's a lot easier than going through the old school way through cable television. Like, do people even have cable anymore? I mean, everybody watches on their phone or on their desktop or on their TV connected to the internet, right? Today there are entire films being made with iPhones. That's how quality the device you have in. How many iPhone users in the room? Let me just check, see if you guys all have hands. Oh, that's good. A lot of iPhone users. Yeah, me too. 90% of internet access is done by mobile. So what's that mean for me? That means I have to change my website again so that is really mobile based. Okay. Instagram publicly announced themselves as the video platform now. Why? Why do you think that? What's taken off for Instagram? Starts with R. Reels. Reels have taken off. They're no longer pretending to be in video. They are in video, like no kidding. So not just YouTube and TikTok anymore, right? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even Pinterest now has video. When did that happen? I mean, I'm not someone who hangs out on Pinterest a lot. My team has a presence there. Thank goodness. But now video needs to be everywhere. Video is the way to capture engagement. So I'm capturing video today for a real reason, right? 2 years ago, it was all about me being a speaker, getting up in front of a room of 1,000 people. And so I had a video team create a video that told the story of me being a speaker. So today, I'm having to shift my brand, and the video team is telling the story about me being an executive producer. Very different. Yes, he's capturing a little bit of me speaking, but all the follow-up and how the story is put together on this little 2-3 minute video is going to be very different. It's so that people can change their mind about me as just being a speaker, just being the owner of a high-tech marketing firm, to being an executive producer who knows something about television, right? Pretty cool. OTT platforms are beginning to integrate additional services. So if you're on the internet, imagine you're watching a television show about climate change, and then a button pops out and it says, click here, put $1 in and plant a tree. How many people here would put $1 in and plant a tree? Yeah. How easy is that? And just like social media was a new thing to those of us who are a little older 10 years ago, guess what? Television 10 years from now is going to be how businesses function. And I have the opportunity to be a little bit ahead of that game, which is pretty exciting. So, the show. So this is the trailer for 4 Days to Save the World. The only place you can see it today is on Human, Human, the number 2, Human. It's a mobile app. You download the mobile app.
My name is Sofia Emperatriz Jaimes, and I have 4 days to save the world.
Cheryl, every passing second, every single breath, every single thought which swiftly crosses your consciousness. Decisions are being made, energy is being exchanged. You are the sum of every second, every breath, every decision made or not. We are a collective sum of those ripples, those exchanges. Tick-tock, it's time. That once in a lifetime, that tingle up your spine, excitement in your gut, a little bit of adrenaline you feel this very second is different. Will you lean into the glory and unknown? Will you rise into your highest self and excel at the deepest, more meaningful of adventures? Will you be the leader, the hero? Can you be irreverent and irrational? Can you push farther, harder than ever before? Tick-tock, are you going in?
Soon, the show's going to be picked up on Amazon Fire, on Apple TV, on Chromecast, over 140 countries. So what does that mean? Every one of those people is going to see my name on this show as an executive producer. So do you think people might reach out to me? I think they're going to go to my LinkedIn, and then they're going to decide whether they want to reach out to me. They're going to go to my Instagram, and then decide whether they want to reach out to me. Because there are, as is any show, there are a lot of credits. I never used to watch the credits. Now I watch the credits. I care because I know what that's like. One of my mentors is a gentleman named Ken Cragen. He was the producer of We Are the World. In the 80s, you know, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, We Are the World, right? And he also did Hands Around America. And he told me, if you can get a show on air, it is a miracle. There are so many issues that occur. Like, you need to sit back and receive the fact that you've done something pretty spectacular, which is still difficult and challenging for me to digest. But what I gathered from Ken is I was no longer a toddler in the television industry. I was now his peer because I was able to get a show on air. That meant that I was no longer executive producer in the making. I am now truly an executive producer, which is kind of fun. So, what's the first thing to create an authentic brand? What's the first thing that you need? Before you can make a post, what do you need? Starts with C. Content. Yes, ma'am. Content. These are the posts, the videos, the blog, the podcast, the ebook, the courses, there's a secret. I could not write an article every week. I can write, but just the thought of doing that every week was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And so I started a podcast. 18 months later, they were giving me an award for this podcast. And yet I was doing it to crank content out so people knew my version of the truth as it related to personal branding. To develop a great personal brand, what do you need? It also starts with C. Consistency. What does consistency mean? Did you get that? Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So I had a quarterly theme, lean into your genius. We were putting monthly posts out. We were putting weekly posts on different platforms, LinkedIn, because that was my main jam. And every day I was touching in for 15 minutes, liking, commenting, and sharing on the people that I wanted to connect to. Right? Consistency, man, that's you need all the three of these things. So what's the third thing? Dun, dun, dun. Third thing, creativity. Okay, I had to go with a C. So this means, photos. Your sister loves you if she records doing this dance on TikTok, opening a box, quotes, right? If you can have a little fun on your channel about the things that you care about, that is a way for people to connect with you. All right. So benefits of a powerful brand. Again, Kristen can share this. You don't need to take all those notes. You can take a picture. But basically, it's not a nice to have anymore. In 97, a personal brand was a new thing. It was a nice to have. This is now 2021, almost 2022. It's like a no kidding. So thank you for being here in the room. Thank you so much. The coupon for the free course, the 7-day LinkedIn challenge, is over on the right-hand side, 7-day LinkedIn. And you have to use the capitals on Bitly and in the coupon, the way they're written, or else it won't work. And so I think we did pretty well. We were supposed to leave 20 minutes for Q&A. I'm kind of on the nut. So I don't know if people have questions online or you have questions in the room. I'd love to hear them. Content. So the question was, what did I struggle with the most? It was totally content. Like, what am I going to talk about? People don't want to hear what I have to say, right? All that negative Nancy talk, head talk, constantly. And that's why I went to a podcast that had an interview format so that I could interview another person. We get into a conversation, have this great conversation. I didn't have time to think about the negative Nancy stuff. It just worked. Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions? My favorite thing about being an executive producer that I did not expect. It's a bit like a magic carpet ride. 90% fabulous, 10%, oh my God, I'm going to die. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I love the great people I connected with. I got to talk to people all around the world about social issues. And so I got really connected with the fact that I love new things. I love creating stories, and television is the next jam, right? But the people from around the world that care about climate and cyberbullying and cancer and suicide and racism, right? All these issues and their backstories. I mean, they were telling me what their 2x4 moments were and why they were willing to invest to be on this show and make a difference. And that, I think, by far is the very favorite. Great question. So Jennifer says, do you have trouble not getting taken seriously as a woman? So I'm going to preface this a little bit. In college, I was one of 3 women and 300 engineering students in a class. And I went to the professor and I said, hey, he was in office hours. So I went to him and I said, I need help with this problem. And he told me, go work with the guys. They'll tell you. which today is like, that is so not okay. But you know what I did? I went and worked with the guys and we figured it out because they didn't know either. And so over time, as a woman, I just didn't get attached to the stupidness that's out there in the world. I just kept doing what I felt the next thing was to do, which is hard. It's tough. And as an executive producer and in the studio I was in, there were more women than men. So it was not a struggle. In the engineering world, it was a struggle. I couldn't get a job as an engineer. But because of that, I shifted completely into marketing, which is my jam. I mean, I was lost in engineering. That wasn't my lane. And so the fact that I wasn't treated well was kind of code for do something else. Great question. Television, old school television is very different than OTT or internet television. So someone with an iPhone can launch a television show. That wasn't possible 20 years ago, right? So now a business can create a compelling story that can get accepted. They can launch it themselves as their own show on YouTube, or they can get picked up by Netflix or picked up by, there's layers to it, right? So it's very different. And businesses, you see typically on, Super Bowl ads, right? The big Doritos ad where the chick did the backflips in the laundry room, one of the best ads ever. That was like $1 million ad. Companies don't typically have $1 million to throw at television. And so this is a whole different world and it's integrated. Think about, okay, I'm a company locally in Austin, Texas. We're doing something to support climate change. And we're going to do a program where they input $1 and plant a tree. That's very doable. Hang on just one sec. I had somebody over here. How'd I go past that? I talked to people smarter than I was, and I asked them what I should do. And they said, you're great interviewing. Why don't you do a podcast? I'm like, oh, no, I can't do that thing. And they pushed me. My colleagues pushed me to do the podcast. And so having good people around you that believe in you is so important. So important. Great question. Yes, ma'am. So I heard tips on networking online. Online, yeah. It's very different online and offline. There are a whole lot of people who never networked online before and then COVID. So there's so much activity happening online. The trick is to find where the faucet is that you want to be standing under. So let me give you an example. I talk about branding, personal branding. There is a faucet on the internet on multiple channels where branding is being talked about. And so if I go to a channel that's all about NFL TV and talk about branding, there might not be a lot of people interested. But if I just connect, I'm telling you, liking, commenting, sharing is networking online. Shannon, do you have anything more to say to that? Yeah, so Shannon is a micro influencer in the realm of fitness and self-care and mental health. And so those are the faucets that she stands underneath with her content. Those are the people that she reaches out to and likes and comments and shares their stuff. If you don't like their stuff, you don't waste your time. I mean, I unfollow people that post things that I don't like because I don't want them in my space, right? I blocked 3 or 4 people this morning because they were being a little crazy, and that's not okay for me. Okay, any other questions? I think I have a few more minutes. Yeah, great question. So how do you rebrand? So 18 months ago was the branding influencer. That was my brand. And that was a brand that had been humming since 2016. So it had 4 or 5 years behind it. And then I became an executive producer. And I immediately launched a new channel on Instagram and put quite a bit of money into getting someone who knew what they were doing on how to create that storyline on that one channel. So I could be connected with the people that resonated with me. Now that started in February. I knew the show was going to air in September. And so we're just now about ready to launch a new name and do a logo and do a new website and do all these things. So it's a process, right? Over 6 months. And I love starting a rebrand with a new product. So instead of creating a new company or a new DBA, doing business as, I'm actually creating a new product. And if people like the product and if they like the name of the product, then guess what? It becomes a company. That's what happened with All About That Brand. That wasn't the first name of the company. It was the name of an ebook. And people went bonkers over the name of this ebook. I'm like, okay, I give in. We put a bullet in that name and we trademarked and did the DBA around All About That Brand. Thank you, Megan Trainor, right? Okay, so it might sound for the folks that are in school, it might sound a little like I'll never have to do that, or I'm not there yet, but you're very close. You could start now. You could be an influencer on something that matters to you, right? The whole business could be pink fuzzy slippers, could be, you know, wearing masks, not wearing masks, could be, I don't know, anything. But if you have a story to tell, that's what generates your brand. Any other questions? Anything else online? One more. What are my parting words of wisdom? So if you're a senior and you're graduating next April, now is the time to start warming up your audience, engaging, networking online with your audience. Now is the exact time, because it takes 3 to 6 months to find that tribe. You're going after the tribe that's going to love what you have to offer. And I would say go to the social platform where they hang out. If you want to go work for IBM, then you're going to go to LinkedIn. If you want to go work for PopSockets, you're probably going to go to Instagram. That's right. So that was part of the strategy of the new name, is what are the hashtags that we're going to create to go with that new name, and the things that people like and start to use over and over again. Those are the ones that we're going to promote and we're going to keep. And I got to say one more element. Whatever you start with is probably not going to be the right thing. Just keep going, keep trying, right? Iterating, keep doing the next thing. You know, like the what about Bob, right? You take one step, you take another step, you take another step. Whatever you come out with the first time, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? Colonel Sanders, 450 times or some ridiculousness before he found the recipe for that chicken. Of course, that was before Chick-fil-A, right? Yeah. All right. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a great day. Thank you.